Jack Osbourne just revealed something so raw, so emotional, that it's leaving fans and even his own family in shock. For years, the world knew Jack as the rebellious son of Ozzy Osbourne, the wild child of rock royalty. But what he's just confessed completely changes everything we thought we knew about him. This isn't just another celebrity headline. It's a truth that may redefine his entire legacy. And trust me, once you hear what Jack finally admitted, you'll never look at him the same way again. Jack Osbourne's emotional confession has stunned fans, shocked the media, and raised questions about the struggles hidden behind the fame of one of the most famous families in rock history. For decades, the Osbournes have lived in the public eye, from Ozzy's legendary music career to their groundbreaking reality TV series that redefined celebrity culture. But while the cameras captured the chaos, what they didn't always show was the personal pain and battles happening behind the scenes. In this video, we're diving deep into what Jack revealed, why it matters, and how it's changing the way people see him today. We'll uncover the untold details of his journey, from his darkest moments to his most inspiring transformations. You won't believe the obstacles he faced and, more importantly, the courage it took to speak out now. Stay with me, because as we peel back the layers of Jack's life, you'll see how his confession isn't just about him. It's a story that resonates with anyone who has ever struggled, fallen, and found the strength to rise again. And trust me, what comes next is more revealing than anything you've seen before. Before we can truly understand the weight of Jack Osbourne's emotional confession, we need to go back to the beginning, the rise of a young man born into rock and roll royalty. Jack wasn't just another celebrity kid. He was the son of Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary frontman of Black Sabbath, a man whose career reshaped the world of heavy metal. And on the other side, his mother, Sharon Osbourne, was not only Ozzy's manager, but also a powerful force in entertainment in her own right. Growing up in the Osbourne household meant living in a world of extremes. Fame, chaos, and controversy were everyday occurrences. For Jack, it was both a blessing and a burden. On one hand, he had access to opportunities most kids could only dream of. On the other, he was under constant pressure and scrutiny, his every move watched by fans, the media, and even critics who saw him as nothing more than the son of a rock legend. But Jack's rise to fame didn't happen through music like his father. Instead, it came through television. In 2002, MTV launched a show that would forever change the way reality TV was seen, The Osbournes. Unlike anything before it, the series opened the doors of the Osbourne home to the world, letting cameras capture their unfiltered, unpredictable lives. And Jack, at just 16 years old, found himself at the center of a cultural phenomenon. Audiences were captivated. Here was this teenage boy, another spoiled celebrity kid. Funny. In reality, Jack was trying to figure out who he really was, and that search often led him down dangerous paths. Then came the temptations of fame. Being young, wealthy, and constantly in the spotlight made Jack a prime target for Hollywood's darker side. Parties, drugs, and excess were all within arm's reach. And like so many child stars before him, Jack fell into the trap. By his late teens, he was struggling with substance abuse. The pressure to maintain a public persona while silently battling his demons was overwhelming. He later admitted that at his lowest point, he felt completely lost, numbing himself with drugs and alcohol just to cope with the chaos of his life. But addiction wasn't the only battle Jack would face. In 2012, when he was just 26 years old, Jack received life-altering news. He had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, a chronic condition that affects the brain and spinal cord. For someone so young, the diagnosis was devastating. MS can cause fatigue, vision problems, and difficulty walking, and while treatments can slow its progression, there is currently no cure. When Jack shared this news publicly, fans were shocked. Here was someone who had already faced the pressures of fame and addiction, now forced to confront a disease that would change his life forever. But rather than letting it break him, Jack chose to fight back. He became an advocate for MS awareness, openly discussing his diagnosis and using his platform to inspire others. Still, the emotional toll of balancing fame, addiction recovery, and a lifelong illness weighed heavily on him. Jack admitted that there were times he questioned his strength, times he wondered whether he could handle the cards he had been dealt. This inner conflict, the struggle between vulnerability and resilience, was something the public rarely saw. What makes Jack's journey so compelling is that his battles weren't just private, they were a mirror of a larger story. The story of how fame can distort reality, how personal struggles can be hidden behind smiles, and how even those who seem to have everything can feel like they're falling apart. And this brings us closer to the heart of his confession. Because while Jack has been open about parts of his life, the addiction, the diagnosis, the recovery, what he recently admitted goes deeper. It's not just about what happened to him, but about what he carried inside all these years. In the next section, we'll uncover how these struggles pushed Jack to a turning point, one that would ultimately lead to the emotional confession and connecting with others who shared the same journey. His willingness to speak openly about the disease helped to destigmatize it, making people see that it wasn't the end of a meaningful life, it was simply a new chapter. This combination, sobriety, fatherhood, and advocacy, marked the turning point in Jack's life. He was no longer just the wild teenager from a reality show. He was a man, a father, and a survivor, someone who had weathered storms and was learning to live with authenticity. But there was still more beneath the surface, because even as Jack turned his life around publicly, privately he was wrestling with emotions and truths he hadn't fully shared. The pain of his past, the burden of his family's fame, and the quiet moments of fear that came with MS. These were things he often kept locked away. And that silence, that unspoken weight, is what makes his later confessions so powerful. In many ways, the turning point wasn't just about getting sober or becoming a father. It was about Jack realizing that the only way to truly heal was to stop hiding. And that realization set the stage for the moment when he finally decided to speak his truth. Coming up next, in Section 4, we'll explore the confession itself, what Jack revealed, why he chose to share it now, and how it's sending shockwaves through fans, the media, and even his own family. This is the part that changes everything. After years of silence, transformation, and private battles, Jack Osbourne finally reached a moment where he could no longer keep everything bottled up. The world had seen glimpses of his struggles, his addiction, his diagnosis, his growth as a father. But there was more beneath the surface, truths he had shielded even from those closest to him. When Jack sat down for his recent emotional confession, it wasn't just another celebrity soundbite. It was raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. He admitted that for much of his life, he felt like an outsider in his own story. Even surrounded by fame, family, and success, he often carried an overwhelming sense of isolation. He revealed that the pressure of being Ozzy Osbourne's son had left him with an identity crisis that haunted him for decades. People saw him as a reflection of his father's wildness or his mother's ambition, but very few saw Jack for who he really was. More startling was Jack's honesty about fear. He confessed that his multiple sclerosis diagnosis had terrified him in ways he didn't initially share publicly. He admitted lying awake at night, wondering if he'd lose the ability to walk, wondering if he'd live to see his daughters grow up. For years, he carried those fears in silence, smiling for cameras while privately crumbling inside. His confession laid bare how much effort it took just to hold it together, how even as he became an advocate for MS awareness, he struggled to believe his own words of hope. And then came perhaps the most shocking part. Jack revealed that at his lowest points, both during addiction and after his diagnosis, he experienced thoughts of giving up entirely. It was a haunting admission, one that fans never expected to hear. But instead of leaving it in darkness, Jack explained how those moments became the catalyst for change. He shared how sobriety, therapy, fatherhood, and faith helped him pull back from the edge. His confession wasn't just about admitting weakness, it was about showing strength through vulnerability. The impact was immediate. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, praising Jack's courage and honesty. Many shared their own struggles with mental health and chronic illness, saying his words made them feel less alone. Even within the Osbourne family, known for their toughness and never let them see you sweat mentality, Jack's openness struck a chord. It showed that even in the world of celebrity, vulnerability is not a weakness, but a form of strength. Jack's confession changes everything because it reframes his story. He's no longer just the rebellious teenager from the Osbournes, nor is he simply Ozzy's son. He's a man who has faced addiction, illness, and despair, and who chose to confront those demons openly without shame. By admitting his fears, his pain, and his darkest moments, Jack gave permission for others to do the same. In a culture obsessed with perfection and image, his honesty stands out as revolutionary. And this is where the power of his words truly resonates. His confession is not just about him, it's about anyone who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or trapped by circumstances beyond their control. It's a reminder that even in the most public lives, there are private battles. And sometimes the bravest thing anyone can do is admit that they're struggling.